All your favorite wrestling shows rolled into one. Welcome to the We Book It podcast. Let's start the show.
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of Who's Next at NXT. I am your host, Virgil. Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode. Thanks so much, everybody, that tuned in to Raw Dog Monday night. Last night, it was the Raw After Mania. If you haven't watched that video, go back and watch that, whether you watch it on Twitch or whether you view it on YouTube. Thank you guys so much. Yeah, with that being said, man, listen. NXT Revenge continued with the second week in the Performance Center for its April 21st show, including more championship matches. So Ruka and Zarya looked to settle their issues in a last woman standing match. Tatum Paxley agreed to fight Blake Monroe again in a casket match for the Women's North American Championship. Miles Bourne put his North American Championship against Dion Lennox. Joe Hendry fought Keanu Carver in a match to determine who was up next for NXT champion Tony D'Angelo. And what would NXT Revenge bring in its second week? Would championships change hands? And could this be the final appearance for Ruka and Hendry in NXT? I personally think it is, but that's just me. So we've got to get to all of the action here that was here live. And once again, I appreciate each and every last one of you guys for tuning in. Make sure that you guys like, share, and subscribe so that you never miss out on anything we got going on over here on the network. So with that being said, now we're going to go ahead and get to that first match. The first match of the night is the North American Championship match. It'll be Miles Bourne versus Dion Lennox, with Dark State in his corner. So the rest of Dark State backed Lennox on his way to the ring. They distracted Bourne on the outside, allowing Lennox to turn the tide and throw Bourne's back into the metal frame of the ring. Lennox kept control for a while to make the comeback. Another distraction was when Sugars set up a set up a superplex, and then after that, Bourne refused to allow a pin attempt and began to exchange strikes. Sugars tried to get involved again, but bumped heads with Lennox, followed by Bourne again for the champion to retain his title. That's right. This pacing of this match was all over the place. It was heavily affected by the three men at ringside. Dark State showed no trust in Lennox, leading to a messy title bout. Which I think this is on purpose. I really feel like Shawn Michaels booked this on purpose like this, because I do think we're going to end up seeing Dark State break up. I think we kind of been seeing the seeds sown for a while, but some of these guys got to break up and go off on their own, especially with the influx of talent being called up from NXT to the main roster. It's going to be very important that these guys show themselves ready to go either after the North American Championship, and maybe some even step foot into that NXT title picture also. So for this story, it makes sense, but Bourne and Lennox tried to make this collision feel epic down the stretch. Obviously this whole angle can keep going with Sugars challenging Bourne next, but it might be best to first get Sugars some in-ring experience on TV. So like I said, we'll just have to see what happens with that. The show started with a hype package for the night, particularly focused on the two dramatic women's stipulation matches. Backstage afterwards, Sugars asked Robert Stone for another Dark State title opportunity in the future. So we could very well see that coming down the line. Next up, we have Joe Hendry versus Keanu Carver. So Carver started out strong, but was quickly sent to the floor by Hendry, frustrating the NXT newcomer. Hendry continued to build momentum until he called for the standing ovation. Then Carver blocked it and landed a huge spine buster. He followed up with a series of elbow smashes on Hendry until the referee called for the bell because Hendry could not defend himself anymore. What a way for them to, if this is Joe Hendry's going out party, what a way for him to go out, making Keanu Carver look strong as can be, with literally manhandling him and beating him to a pulp. It's some big dudes down here in NXT, man. So, like I said, Keanu Carver being one of them, and like I said, it's one of those things where I'm very interested to see what they decide to do next with Keanu Carver. As for Joe Hendry, you do kind of feel for Joe. He had a short title reign in NXT, nothing too long. But again, Joe Hendry has been TNA World Champion. Joe Hendry has been NXT World Champion. They just wanted to be able to say he's a former NXT World Champion and a former TNA World Champion. He was main roster bound at some point this year, and it does appear like he will be a part of either SmackDown or Raw moving forward. But yeah, for Carver now, it looks like he's the one that put Joe Hendry out of action. So while Hendry came out to his usual entrance with Booker T singing along, Hendry did not smile at all, preparing for this fight. After this, NXT showed a hype vignette for Lizzie Rain, who will debut next week. Man, these names just keep getting more and more out of control. I hate the names they give these people in NXT. I ain't gonna lie to you. Next up, we got a men's speed championship tournament final. It's Lexis King going up against EK Prosper with the Birthright. So Prosper almost caught King with a pin attempt right at the start of the match, but King found an edge by using Ariana Grace as a shield on the outside. When King tried to use the Carnation through, though Prosper fought it off. Prosper went for a moonsault, but was knocked off the top by King. He countered a Coronation on the apron with a back body drop, then moonsaulted onto the Birthright. Grace avoided the moonsault and slapped Prosper, who walked right into a Coronation for the victory for Lexis King. Once again, the distractions played too big a role in the match for it to flow, especially for a contest that was only able to go 4.5 minutes. So Prosper style works well for the speed title, while King is a methodical wrestler, but he does look damn good with that speed championship on him. So again, like I said, we expect to see him defend that speed championship multiple times. Throughout the match, one of the things I want to point out, Channing Stacks, Lorenzo almost caused himself and King injury when he jumped on him in celebration. Backstage, Saquon Sugars told Dion Lennox that he had the next shot at Miles Bourne next week, and Lennox was not happy about it at all. Next up, we're going to go to the Women's North American Championship. This match, I think I got a little bit to rant on afterwards, but we'll just see. This is Tatum Paxley going up against Blake Monroe in none other than a casket match. I'm very curious. What other casket matches have there been outside of the Undertaker's casket matches? I don't really know that there's been a casket match. I don't know. I think maybe Kane might have done 1 or 2 casket matches, but I don't really think there's been a lot of casket matches outside of the Undertaker being the one to introduce that casket match. Somebody in the comments correct me if I'm wrong. I think it might have been Taker is the only one. Anyways, we go from this. Blake Monroe, Blake Monroe and Tatum Paxley are going to go at it in this match. So Tatum tried to throw Monroe into the casket within seconds of the match starting, but the Glamour ducked out. The two battled in and out of the casket until they fought on top of it. And then Monroe went for a Glamour shot, but Tatum countered into a Spanish fly. This was a sweet move, too, when it happened. Go back and watch that if you haven't already. Monroe fired back with a fire extinguisher and elevated Glamour shot. Tatum used Monroe's fake title to block the casket door. The Glamour dragged Tatum out of the casket with the title and whipped the champion repeatedly before revealing a bag full of diamonds. Almost a throwback to Mankind's bag of tacks, but instead of tacks, it's a bag of diamonds. Tatum countered a Glamour shot into the cemetery drive on the diamonds, then closed the lid on Monroe to successfully defend her NXT North American Women's Championship. Like I said, this was a spot fest plunder of a match, delivering on the spectacle over pure in-ring action. Like I said, it was a less complete match because of this, but again, it was still led to the dramatic finishes, which we know Blake Monroe is really well known for from her time in AEW. So combined with the distracting the Vanity Project throughout the night, this may truly signal the end of the Glamour in NXT. And I just want to put this out there because Tatum Paxley defeated Blake Monroe to retain the Women's North American Championship. But I just want to put this out there. I hated hated every bit of Blake Monroe's booking in NXT. I understand she was there for a short time, probably just to kind of learn the WWE style of doing things with entrances, hard cameras, stuff like that. I hated every bit of this. The only way I think they can make up for this is by putting her and Tiffany Stratton in a tag team together. Tiffany Stratton, Blake Monroe, you can call them the Glamour Girls. You can, like I said, whatever you want to do, make these two a tag team where they wrestle together. I think these two would have a hell of a time as your WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, and eventually one turning on the other. And then this will make Tiffany relevant, give her something to do, as well as Blake Monroe then also will have something to do as well. And like I said, these two can feud. They could literally be Mariah May versus Toni Storm part 2 in WWE style. But like I said, I mean, because like I said, when they're better frenemies, it just makes for a better story, especially when it's believable. So I would love for these two to become a tag team. That's my suggestion, that I would love to see them do a Blake Monroe if she is leaving NXT and headed out to the main roster. Next up, Lola Vice talked about finding what it means to be the NXT Women's Champion. She was ready for anyone to step up, but promised them all a serious fight. Izzy Dame arrived to make clear she wants the next shot before Shawn Spears and Nico Van surrounded Vice, allowing Izzy to lay Vice out with a boot. While this segment focused on the NXT Women's Championship scene down to one clear challenger, that was about all it accomplished. Vice and Dame did not sound confident on the microphone, leading to a flat performance between these two. Lola Vice, if she's ever going to make it to the main roster, has to get so much better on the microphone. You got to be able to talk them into the room up there. Also, something to note, Tony D'Angelo received a box with the kanji of war, while Keanu Carver also told him and Stone that he wanted a shot at the champ. So Tony D'Angelo looks like he has his next challenger, but there's also someone who has been signed from New Japan that could very well be coming to NXT really soon to fight and wreak havoc and war with none other than Tony D'Angelo. Speaking of war, in our main event for the evening, it's Zarya versus Sol Ruca in a last woman standing match. This is, we believe, the swan song for one Sol Ruca, who is headed to Monday Night Raw. So Zarya tried to sneak attack Ruca before the bell, but Ruca expected it, starting the brawl fast. The two quickly leaned on weapons. Zarya choked out Ruca with cables, while Ruca used a kendo stick for a crossface. Ruca speared Zarya through the stage. Both stumbled out, only to collapse in the final picture-in-picture break. Zarya sent Ruca through the announce table with an F5, but Ruca found her footing to stay in the fight. The two set up tables underneath the stage, and Ruca blasted Zarya with a piece of announce table and went on top of the stage. Zarya met her on the stage and went for a spear, but took a soul snatcher for a near 10 count. Zarya tricked Ruca into not knocking her down, then tossed her through the table for the win. Zarya does get the win over Sol Ruca. This is levels above everything else in the show. Why? Because these were frenemies. These two women were friends at one part. And now Zarya will go on to be the biggest woman heel in NXT. Meanwhile, Sol Ruca will take her swan song and she will go to Monday Night Raw. I'm impressed. I'm happy for Sol Ruca. I'm happy for Zarya too. I'm happy for both of them. This gives Zarya something to do moving forward. She can work towards building off of this to get more heat to either win the North American Women's Championship, which I probably think she will get that next, but then eventually she will be in the picture for that NXT Women's Championship. So yeah, I'm just really excited for what's ahead on NXT. I think Shawn Michaels is building something. A lot of call-ups are happening, so it's going to be time for other people to step up in NXT. Who is going to step up? Because I think Sol Ruca is gone. I think Blake Monroe is gone. Ethan Page already debuted as a new Raw superstar, and I think Joe Hendry is going to be on SmackDown. So again, you guys want to pay attention. And Ricky Starks ain't far behind. Ricky Starks is not far behind, guys. He will be up there really soon too. Like I said, so just pay attention. A lot of the AEW talent that WWE signed over to NXT, they get basically a year in NXT before they get called up. But like I said, we'll see what happens. Who's going to step up? I'm looking at Keanu Carver. I'm looking at Tony D'Angelo holding it down as the face of the brand. I'm looking at the guys from Dark State being able to step up. Once again, that's why this show is called Who's Next at NXT, because we got to find out who is going to be the next big thing coming out of NXT. Right now, the next big thing is none other than Obafemi, as we saw what he did on WrestleMania over the past weekend. But comment below, what was your favorite match? Let me know, guys, what your favorite match was. Also, what would you grade the show altogether? I'm giving this show a solid A-, a very good show held together by the main event. Two women that absolutely cannot stand each other. Zarya, who's thirsty to prove herself as a main event type talent. So Ruka on her way out, doing the honors for Zarya and giving her the rub, as Zarya will now probably go after Tatum Paxley and the North American Women's Championship. All right, guys, that's the show for this time. I appreciate you guys so much. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe so that you never miss an episode of the We Book It channel. You guys stay tuned. Tomorrow, Coach is going to cover AEW, our very first All Elite recap episode featuring Coachman. So make sure that you guys are there for that. Once again, I appreciate you guys so much. Until next time, keep those booking pencils sharp and keep on booking.